The Grass Valley Group Kaleidoscope system offers a new and unique approach to digital picture manipulation. The Kaleidoscope is unsurpassed in ease of operation, with the most complete range of effects available. This flexibility allows operators the greatest amount of artistic freedom in the creative environment. Operation of the Kaleidoscope is boldly simple. This program will demonstrate the ease of operation and vast power of the Kaleidoscope. This presentation is divided into 6 topics: the control panel, getting started, building effects, running effects, transform control, and exercises. The Kaleidoscope control panel consists of several sections. The upper panel contains the menu and channel delegation control. Menu control is made through the 10 top menu buttons, allowing quick access to the desired menu branch. The 6 buttons under the menu display panel are called soft buttons because their functions change depending on which menu is displayed. Knobs to the right of the soft buttons are called soft knobs because their functions are also dependent on the selected menu. Functions are indicated on the display directly above the soft buttons or knobs. Buttons which delegate the control panel and buttons which turn video on or off are located in the upper right section. Buttons controlling some other menu and editing operations also appear on this panel. The lower panel consists of the Edit Control panel, the keypad and effect memory system, the Run panel with lever arm, the joystick positioner and transform control buttons, and the video input select row. A 3.5-inch disk drive used for permanent storage of effects is located in this position. The complete Kaleidoscope control panel may come configured as a standalone panel as shown, or may be integrated into a Grass Valley Group Model 300 series switcher control panel. When configured with a Model 300, the upper panel is located above Mix Effects 1, and the lower panel is shared with the Model 300 positioner control panel. Video input selection is made using the aux bus panel. To begin editing effects, the Kaleidoscope must be configured to an active state. To do this, press the Resource button in the top menu section. Select Request Channel by pressing soft button F1. Select Channel 1 by again pushing soft button F1. Select Video Processor A by once again pressing soft button F1. This should assign an active video processor to the controller. Continue by selecting Channel 1 on the channel delegate buttons. Press Clear Work Buffer twice quickly to clear the channel. The operator should now have control of a channel. To check to see if control has been established, perform the following example while viewing the output monitor of the Kaleidoscope. Select an active video crosspoint on the video input select row. Press the Target and Rotate buttons next to the joystick and move the joystick. The image should rotate on the monitor. If this does not occur, check with your engineering staff to make sure that the Kaleidoscope has been properly installed. To clear the screen, press Clear Work Buffer twice quickly. Next, clear all system effects by pressing the Effects Operations top menu button. Select Register by pressing F2. Select Erase by pressing F5. Select all registers by pressing F4. Select Yes, F5, then press Erase, F6. This clears the effects memory system for the examples that follow. Now, let's build an effect. In the Kaleidoscope, the word effect is used to mean a memorized sequence of one or more events on the screen. Each effect is built by inserting and editing what are called keyframes. A keyframe is defined as a point in time which has a known set of parameters. Therefore, an effect is made up of one or more keyframes. Since all effects have been erased, any effect recalled will be empty. Now continue by selecting Recall Effect 5, Enter. The keypad display shows Current Effect 5. This means that the current effect to be run or edited is effect number 5. Select one of the top menu buttons. For example, the background border button. The display indicates keyframe 0 of 0. This means that there are no keyframes in the current effect. Check to see that the Edit Enable button is illuminated. If not, press once to enter the editing mode. An effect can now be created by storing and editing keyframes. To select a simple transform mode, press Target and Locate Size on the Transform panel. Pushing the joystick sideways or up and down controls the position. Twisting the joystick controls the size. Let's reduce the size of the picture and position it in the upper left corner. Pressing the Insert button on the Edit panel creates a keyframe. Note that when a picture is positioned, only a work buffer is affected. This work buffer is not a keyframe, but a scratch pad which can be changed without affecting a keyframe. Pressing Insert copies the contents of the work buffer into a new keyframe. To clear the work buffer, quickly press Clear Work Buffer twice. This returns the work buffer to a known state, usually a non-manipulated picture. Next, position the picture in the upper right corner. Again, press the Insert button. Notice that the display panel now shows keyframe 2 of 2. This shows that the effect is parked on keyframe 2 of an effect which contains 2 keyframes. The next keyframe is always inserted following the current keyframe. To run the effect, simply move the lever arm from limit to limit. We will continue by inserting 2 more keyframes in the other 2 corners. This creates an effect with 4 keyframes. Any keyframe in the effect may be viewed by pressing the Go To Keyframe button in the Edit panel. Enter an existing keyframe number in the keypad and press Enter to park the effect at that keyframe. Similarly, the previous keyframe and next keyframe buttons allow the operator to step through the effect keyframe by keyframe. To park at a position in between keyframes, move the lever arm to the desired position and stop. Any unwanted keyframes may be deleted by using the Delete button on the Edit panel. To delete a keyframe, park on keyframe 2 by using the Go To button. Press the Delete button and run the effect. The keyframe which was previously the second keyframe no longer exists as part of the effect. The Delete button takes the contents of the deleted keyframe and stores it in a temporary buffer. This may be retrieved by using the Undelete button. An undelete can be performed by parking the effect at the last keyframe by running the effect with the lever arm. Pressing the Undelete button now copies the contents of the delete buffer into a new keyframe. Running this effect now shows that the original keyframe 2 has been moved to the last keyframe. It should be noted that this delete buffer may be used to create a new keyframe after any keyframe in any effect. Inserting a keyframe at the beginning of an existing effect is a special case. Since keyframe 1 is defined as being the start of the effect, and since new keyframes are always inserted after the parked keyframe, it appears that there is no way to insert before an effect. This dilemma is solved by using go-to keyframe 0 and inserting a keyframe before the first keyframe. Press go-to keyframe, then enter 0 in the keypad and press enter. This parks the effect at keyframe 0, which is not really part of the effect, but only a way in which to insert a keyframe at the beginning of the effect. Modify the position and size using the joystick and press insert. The new keyframe is inserted as keyframe number 1, and all the subsequent keyframes are renumbered. It should be noted that the Undelete button works equally well at inserting a keyframe at the beginning of an effect. Now, run the effect and see what has been built. Any existing keyframe may be modified using the Modify button in the Edit panel. Remember that changing the picture with the positioner does not affect a keyframe, but only a work buffer. Pressing Modify will copy the contents of the work buffer into an existing keyframe. As an example, park the effect at keyframe 2 using the Go-To button with keyboard entry. Change the size of the picture with the joystick. Press the Modify button. Keyframe 2 has now been modified in size by the amount changed. Now, run the effect with the lever arm to observe the modified effect. A group of keyframes may be modified all at once by entering the Modify All Keyframes mode using the button on the upper panel. This mode modifies changed parameters of the current and all subsequent keyframes. Any changes made to the current keyframe are changed by a relative amount in all subsequent keyframes. Go to the beginning of the effect by using Go-To keyframe and entering 1 in the keypad. Enter the Modify All Keyframes mode by pressing Modify All Keyframes in the upper panel. Adjust the size of the picture with the joystick and press Modify in the Edit panel. The Modify All Keyframes lamp will go out. Run the effect and observe that all the keyframes have been modified relative to the change made to the first keyframe. In addition to running with the lever arm, an effect may be run using the Run button next to the lever arm. Notice that each time the effect is run with the Run button, it has exactly the same duration. As the effect is run, it progresses through each keyframe. Each keyframe takes a specific time to advance to the next keyframe, and it is the sum of these keyframe durations that make up the effect duration. This effect duration is called the natural duration because it is the unaltered sum of all keyframe durations. To change the duration of any keyframe, park at the desired keyframe and press the Keyframe Duration button. Then enter the time in the keypad in seconds and frames using the decimal as the delineator. Any time value up to 99 seconds may be entered. Pressing Modify will modify this keyframe to include the desired duration. Let's do it again. Park the effect at keyframe number 3 using the Go-To button. Press Keyframe Duration and enter 2.15. Press the Modify button. Rewind and run the effect. Notice that the third keyframe now takes 2.5 seconds to execute, and that the effect is proportionately longer. The normal default duration for each keyframe is 1 second. Similarly, the duration of the entire effect may be altered. Once an effect has been built and the relative keyframe durations are determined, the effect duration may be adjusted to fit a particular time application by using the Effect Duration button. This allows the effect duration to be entered in the keypad and alters each keyframe duration accordingly during runtime. This is called a force duration because it forces the runtime duration to be something other than the natural duration. To return to the natural duration, enter only the decimal point in the keypad. To demonstrate, press the Effects Duration button and enter 2.0 seconds. Notice the F in the keypad display indicating a forced duration. Rewind and run the effect. Notice that the effect now runs in 2 seconds. Press Effects Duration and enter the decimal point. The effect now runs with its natural duration. In preparing to run an effect, the Rewind button automatically parks the effect at the first keyframe. Furthermore, pressing the Run button while the effect is running causes the effect to stop running. A subsequent press causes the effect to continue. Several editing operations allow editing of the effect without altering its duration. The first is called inserting on the path. This is used to bend the path of an effect and can be used in practice to match existing action. Using the lever arm to run the effect, park the effect in between keyframes by stopping the lever arm at the desired location. Modify the work buffer by changing some parameter, for example, the position. A keyframe may be inserted at this point in the effect using the Insert button. Running the effect shows that the time of the effect is left unchanged. However, a new keyframe now exists between two of the original keyframes. The original keyframe's duration changes to accommodate the new keyframe. When an effect is parked between keyframes, the Modify and Delete buttons are inhibited. This is necessary because there is no keyframe to delete or modify at that point. Constant duration of an effect may be maintained by using the Constant Duration mode. Pressing the Constant Duration button changes the editing operations. These changes guarantee that the effect duration will not change. First, when a keyframe is deleted, the duration of the previous keyframe is lengthened to maintain a constant effect duration. Second, when the effect is parked on a keyframe, the Insert button is inhibited to prevent an added keyframe from lengthening the effect. New keyframes can, however, be inserted when parked in between keyframes, since this does not alter the effect duration. Third, when parked at the first or last keyframe, the Delete button is inhibited to prevent the effect from being shortened. One further feature of the Constant Duration mode is a change in the Go To button function. When the Go To button is pressed, the keypad entry refers to a place in time rather than a keyframe number. Thus, Go To 1.15 will position the effect 1.5 seconds into the effect. After an effect has been created, it can be run in a variety of ways. As described previously, the effect can be run using the lever arm. The lever arm can track the effect either backward or forward between limits. When the lever arm reaches the limit, the effect is completed. Further lever arm motion will begin the effect again. The Run button begins running the effect from where it is currently parked. When the Stop Next keyframe button is lit, the Run button causes the effect to stop at each subsequent keyframe. In addition, full lever arm travel is 1 keyframe duration. This is useful for stepping through each keyframe of an effect to observe motion. This mode also gives better resolution to lever arm travel. When the Hold Input button is lit, the input learned in the keyframe is overridden by the input currently selected on the input selection bus. In addition, several menu functions associated with the inputs are held. This is useful when running an effect live and selecting the input at the last minute. The Reverse button selects a mode which allows the effect to run backwards. In addition, Freeze mode may be assigned to selected buttons to freeze the video input. In the Kaleidoscope, there can be up to 120 effects online at any one time. These are all stored in random access memory and are therefore quickly recalled. 100 of these effects can be edited and are numbered 0 to 99. 20 are reserved for the preset effects. Preset effects are numbered 100 through 119 and consist of effects copied into these registers by the user for quick menu recall. The preset effects are also protected from accidental modification or erasure. Each controller can store up to 1,000 keyframes at any one time. 450 of these can be allocated to any one channel. An additional 200 keyframes can be shared among the preset effects. In addition to the immediate effect storage capability, all effects can be easily stored on disk using simple menu selections. Recalling an effect, either for running or editing, can be easily accomplished by pressing the Recall Effects button on the keypad. Enter the desired effect number. Normally, if the Edit Enable function is turned off, no empty registers may be recalled. This prevents accidentally recalling an empty effect while using the Kaleidoscope in a live situation. If an effect which has been previously built is recalled, no editing can take place until the Edit Enable function is active. Edit Enable mode cannot be entered from preset effects. This protects these effects from accidental modification. Whenever a picture is moved in the Kaleidoscope, the term used is transformed. This can be compression, expansion, rotation, or displacement on the screen. To understand how the Kaleidoscope operator controls this transform, some of the theories should first be discussed. There are 3 elements involved in any 3-dimensional representation: the viewer, the screen or target, and the source. The key to the operation of the Kaleidoscope is understanding how to control the relationships between these 3 elements. To help, a numeric representation of the space is established. If an imaginary grid is superimposed over the screen, numeric calculations can be made much more easily. With the origin at the center, the screen dimensions are defined as -4 units to +4 units in the horizontal direction and -3 units to +3 units in the vertical direction. These numbers represent the amount of displacement seen when a picture is transformed. For ease of programming in the Kaleidoscope, this imaginary grid is superimposed over both the target and the source. An imaginary 3-dimensional Cartesian coordinate superimposed over the target defines the reference called target space. Likewise, an imaginary three-dimensional Cartesian coordinate superimposed on the source defines the reference called source space. The kaleidoscope operator has control over the location of source, target, and viewer positions, as well as source and target size. At full-size normal picture, the source is located at the same spot as the target. The normal default value for the viewer is approximately 2 full screen widths, or just over 16 grid units away from the screen. This value is chosen because of the natural field of view of the human eye. This allows the picture to achieve the most natural perspective look. As the source is moved around in space, it is the projection on the target that the viewer observes. In the kaleidoscope, motion of the source can be made using either the source space reference or the target space reference. When the picture is transformed using the source space reference, X, Y, or Z displacement causes a change with respect to the source space axes. As the picture is transformed using the target space reference, X, Y, or Z displacement causes a change to the image with respect to the target space axes. An additional type of transform available to the kaleidoscope operator changes only the size of the source. This occurs independently, without affecting any other transform parameter, and is called source size. Finally, the X and Y position and size of the target may be changed. This has the effect of changing the location and size of the projected image without changing any perspective or spatial relationships. This is called post space and has associated axes in the X and Y direction coincident with the target axes. The third component of post space is size. As mentioned earlier, in the kaleidoscope, all current parameters are held in a work buffer. These include menu parameters as well as transform parameters. Pressing the Clear Work Buffer button twice returns the entire work buffer to a known state. Pressing the button once returns only the transform parameters to a known state, usually a non-transformed full-size picture. To begin using the transform controls of the kaleidoscope, press Clear Work Buffer once to clear any previous transform parameters. Remember, with the kaleidoscope, many moves may be done using either source or target space as reference. The source and target buttons on the transform panel select the mode or reference for 5 other buttons: Locate XYZ, Locate Size, Rotation, Aspect Skew Perspective, and Axis Locate. Source and target modes are therefore mutually exclusive. Select Target Mode and Locate XYZ. In this mode, three-dimensional motion is accomplished in XYZ space using the target or screen as a reference. Select Target Mode and Rotate. Rotation is now accomplished by moving the joystick. Notice X rotation, Y rotation, and Z rotation. Remember that the axis of rotation is still in the target space reference. Leaving the image slightly rotated, select Source Mode and Locate XYZ. Now, any motion of the joystick causes the image to move in reference to the source axis. Notice the direction of X motion, Y motion, and Z motion. Now, change to Source Rotate. Notice X rotation, Y rotation, and Z rotation in the source space. Again, look at target locate XYZ. Notice that the direction of X motion, Y motion, and Z motion is again made with reference to the target. Look again at target rotate. Notice that the rotation of X, Y, and Z is also made with reference to the target. This demonstrates the primary three-dimensional transforms of the kaleidoscope. The beginning operator should practice this example until it is understood exactly how the controls work. To continue, select Source Mode and Locate Size. Notice now that twisting the joystick in the Z direction affects only the size of the source. X and Y motion of the joystick moves the source with reference to the source axes. This is identical to X and Y motion in Source Locate XYZ mode. These are, in fact, the same parameters. Notice that Source Locate Size affects parameters in the source XY plane only. Now, select Target Mode and Locate Size. This is the mode which is frequently called post-space because it controls the image after the image has been projected onto the screen. X and Y motion of the joystick moves the image around on the screen. Twisting the joystick changes the size of the image. This mode has no effect on the perspective or vanishing point of the image and only controls XY position and size in source space reference. Next, select Source Mode and Aspect Skew Perspective. The Aspect Skew Perspective button is labeled such that aspect and skew are active in the source mode and perspective is active in the target mode. Moving the joystick in the X or Y directions in the source mode skews the source picture horizontally or vertically. Twisting the joystick affects the aspect of the source by squeezing the width or height accordingly. This move is frequently accompanied by a sizing move to give the impression of stretching the picture in one direction or another. For example, we can reduce the height of the picture using aspect. Press the Locate Size button and adjust the size to compensate for the reduction in height. Perspective parameters are controlled by selecting Target and Aspect Skew Perspective. These controls have the effect of moving the viewpoint of the image. In this mode, X and Y motion of the joystick moves the viewer's eye side to side and up and down. Twisting the joystick moves the viewer towards and away from the target. As mentioned earlier, the normal default value for the viewer is slightly over 2 screen widths, or 16.6 target grid units away from the screen. The perspective values are the inverse of this distance. Thus, the default Z perspective value is 0.06. As the viewer moves closer to the screen, this value grows larger. As the viewer moves further from the screen, this value is smaller. At very far distances, this value is near zero, and, as expected, the rotated image appears to be two-dimensional. With the kaleidoscope, the operator has complete control over the location of the axes of rotation. This is accomplished by selecting the Axis Locate button. When in the source mode, the axis of rotation is moved relative to the source by joystick motion in the target direction. When in the target mode, the axes are moved relative to target space by joystick motion in the target X, Y, or Z direction. It should be noted that source location and rotation values are always relative to the current target position. The kaleidoscope uses the target values to calculate the transform and provides the source values only as an aid to the operator. As a consequence, source values modify the target values and are cleared to 0 when exiting source mode or inserting a keyframe. This benefits the operator when making modifications to existing keyframes, since changes made in source mode are always relative to existing target parameters. The center button on the transform panel serves two functions, clear and detent. When pressed twice quickly, it clears the portion of transform currently delegated to the joystick. For example, a source which is reduced in size, then rotated, may have the rotation but not the size cleared by pressing the center button twice. Selecting Locate Size and then pressing the center button twice will clear the size and position parameters as well. A single press of the center button causes the present parameters to be detented to the closest detent value. For example, a source may be reduced in size to approximately 1/2. Pressing the center button once will detent that value to exactly 1/2. Next, if the source is rotated in the Z direction approximately 45 degrees, pressing the center button will detent the value to exactly 45 degrees. This can greatly speed up operation where accuracy of position is required. The X, Y, and Z buttons serve two functions. Holding one of these buttons down while moving the joystick allows only that parameter to be changed. This prevents the possibility of undesired changes to other parameters. In addition, selecting X, Y, or Z will allow exact numeric entries to be made using the keypad. Notice that when X, Y, or Z is selected, mnemonics appear in the keypad window indicating which parameters may be entered via the keypad. For example, a source may be exactly scaled in size to 2/3 by selecting source size, Z, and entering 0.67 in the keypad. In addition, the menu button serves to allow joystick or keypad entry to the menu soft knobs. Pressing the menu button delegates the joystick to control the 3 soft knobs in the menu panel. Horizontal motion controls the left knob, vertical motion controls the middle knob, and twisting controls the right knob. These parameters can then be entered via the keypad by again selecting X, Y, or Z and entering the desired value. This concludes the description of the operation of the kaleidoscope editing and transform control. The following are exercises you can use to practice skills that have been discussed so far. For the first exercise, let's create a 2-keyframe zoom effect. Recall an empty effect register using the keypad. Press Recall Effect, enter 1 in the keypad, and press Enter. Select Source Locate Size. Select the Z button and enter 0 in the keypad. This transforms the image to 0 size. Insert this as the first keyframe. Press the center button twice to clear the source locate size function and insert another keyframe. Rewind and run the effect. This should show a 1-second zoom effect from 0 size to full screen. For exercise number 2, let's recall another empty effect by recalling effect number 2. Recalling an empty effect will automatically return the work buffer to its cleared state. Reduce the size using source locate size. Insert this in the first keyframe. Position the picture in the upper left corner. Insert this as the second keyframe. Next, reposition the source to the upper right corner and insert a keyframe. Rewind and run this effect. Modify the effect by doing the following. Select Stop Next Keyframe, press Rewind, then Run. The effect should be parked at keyframe 2. Select Source Rotate. Rotate slightly in the X direction. Press Modify. Press Run to park at the next keyframe. Rotate slightly in the -X direction and press Modify. Turn off the Stop Next Keyframe mode, rewind and run the effect. Rewind the effect, turn on Modify All Keyframes. Select Target Perspective. Press Z and enter 0.12 in the keypad. Press the Modify button. Run the effect observing the differences. Rewind the effect and enter the Modify All Keyframes mode. Select Target and Locate Size, also known as Post Space. Reposition the first keyframe lower in the screen. Press Modify, then Run. Notice that all keyframes were repositioned without changing any of the perspective parameters. In exercise number 3, we will practice using keypad entry, detent values, and the axis locate feature. Again, start by recalling an empty effect. Reduce the size to 1/2 using source locate size, Z, 0.5, enter. Select source axis locate. Select X and enter 4 in the keypad. Insert the first keyframe. Select source rotate and position the rotation with the joystick. Detent the position using center and insert the next keyframe. Select source axis locate and enter -4 in the X direction. Insert the last keyframe. Rewind and run the effect. The last exercise demonstrates the use of inserting keyframes on the path. Start by recalling an empty effect. Select source locate size. Position the picture at one corner of the screen and reduce the size to 0 using the keypad. Insert the first keyframe. Return the picture to full size by pressing Clear Work Buffer once. Insert the next keyframe. Rewind and run the effect to observe the motion. Rewind the effect and run slowly using the lever arm, stopping about halfway through the effect. Reposition the source using the joystick and insert a keyframe in between. Rewind and run the effect, noticing the difference in path. This concludes Tape 1 of the Kaleidoscope Operation Training. It is suggested that the beginning operator practice using the skills discussed in this tape before proceeding to the more advanced topics described in Tape 2. The Grass Valley Group's Kaleidoscope system incorporates a great many features. Many of these, including transforms and the building of effects, have been demonstrated in the first tape. Menu control and more advanced topics will be discussed in this program. The key to mastering the Kaleidoscope is practice. This program is divided into 11 sections describing different levels of menu control: Introduction, Resources, CRT, In-Out, Path, Video Modify, Picture, Background, Recursive Freeze, Effects Operation, and Preset Effects. To review, the Kaleidoscope panel consists of several parts. The lower panel contains the Edit control buttons, the keypad, the Run panel with lever arm, and the transform controls, including the positioner. Most menu controls are found in the upper panel. On the left portion of this panel, 10 top menu buttons allow quick access to menu functions. The flat panel menu display and soft buttons are located in the center of the panel. To the right are the soft knobs and panel display. Also in this section are the channel delegate buttons, channel on buttons, and several miscellaneous editing mode controls. The Kaleidoscope is a menu-driven device. Understanding how the menu operates is important in being able to control the Kaleidoscope effectively. The 10 buttons for top menu display provide immediate access to the top of the menu tree associated with the name on the keycap. The 10 top menus provided are Resources, Effect Operations, CRT, Recursive Freeze, Video Modifications, Picture, Path, In and Out, Background Border, and Preset Effects. Selecting any of the top menu buttons immediately displays the associated top menu. The soft buttons immediately below the menu may be used to select the various features described in that menu. Notice that some soft buttons will turn a function on or off, while other buttons may lead to another menu page. Think of the menu as being an upside-down tree with the top menu at the trunk. As the user makes various choices, he proceeds down a path of various branches. Each time a new display appears on the screen, it is referred to as a lower menu, indicating that it is further away from the top menu. Each top menu may have many lower menu levels. The exit button next to the soft button F6 is used to back out of a menu tree. Each press of the exit button returns the screen to the next higher menu level. No matter which menu is presently displayed, successive presses of the exit button will eventually return the display to the top menu. When parked at a top menu, one further press of the exit button displays a page showing parameters of the current effect. When the Edit Enable button is lit, these parameters include the effect number, the active channels for the effect, the duration of the effect, and the current location where the effect is parked. In addition, the display shows the keyframe number where each channel is presently parked. When the Edit Enable lamp is off, this display shows the level of software installed and some of the current effect parameters. Note that any top menu button may be pressed from anywhere in the menu structure, so access to a particular menu tree is always quick and easy. In addition, a last menu button above the soft knobs will toggle between the last two menus used. This is convenient for returning quickly to a particular menu in order to refine adjustments. To practice operation of the menu system, press the background border top menu button. This enters the control section for the borders. Select Border F2. Notice how the menu display changes. Also notice that the display over the soft knobs shows the particular parameter for each knob. Turn the border on by pressing F1. Note the toggle action of this button. Using the soft knobs, adjust the width, softness, and opacity of the border. Press Matte Mode F6 to enter the matte menu. Color and luminance controls are now available on the soft knobs. The Clear Menu function button next to the F1 soft button serves to clear the parameters of the presently displayed page. This function normalizes the soft knobs and soft buttons. A quick second press of the button serves to return all parameters from the current menu downward to a normal state. This function first displays a recheck to avoid unwanted erasure. Now let's explore the next function by selecting the resource's top menu. This displays many setup and engineering functions, as well as several operator functions. Request channel F1 is used when assigning channels to the controller. All channels in a system are connected together in a loop. Each channel physically exists in one electronics frame. The operator selects which channels are to be used from the physical channels available. This defines a relationship between logical and physical channels. Select the number of channels required for the session, then select which physical channel will be delegated as logical channel 1. The Channel Options button displays which options are installed in each of the delegated channels. This helpful display shows which optional features are installed. Align System, Define Sources, and System Configuration are maintenance functions used for installation and setup of the system. One maintenance function which may be particularly useful to the operator is found under the System Configuration menu. This is the Unity keyframe feature. To explain this feature, the memory storage system of the Kaleidoscope must be examined. Remember that in the Kaleidoscope, changes are made to a buffer called the work buffer. These contents are entered into a keyframe when Insert or Modify is pressed. When Clear Work Buffer is pressed, the work buffer is loaded with values from a storage area called the Unity keyframe. This is not really a keyframe, but a register containing known parameters. These parameters may, in fact, be programmed by the user. When the operator chooses to define his Unity keyframe, the Unity keyframe register is loaded with the contents of the work buffer. Thus, the Clear Work Buffer parameters are operator definable. Frequently, parameters like background or border on, keyframe duration, and others are determined by the user and defined in the Unity keyframe for a particular application. Thus, when the work buffer is cleared, borders may remain on, or any other parameter may be set to a predetermined known state. In addition, Grass Valley Group default values can be loaded into this buffer. However, this is not a recommended practice for the operator, as the process makes use of maintenance storage functions. Remember that pressing Clear Work Buffer twice loads the entire Unity keyframe buffer into the work buffer. Pressing Clear Work Buffer once loads only the transform parameters from the Unity keyframe into the work buffer. The next function we will explore is the CRT menu control. Press the CRT top menu button. This menu controls CRT text display pages and the graphics control option if installed. The choices between text terminal and knob parameters determine where the soft knob values are displayed. When knob parameters is selected, the CRT text button above the soft knobs switches between displaying the name of the soft knob and the value of the soft knob. When text terminal is selected, text display is available at a VT100 compatible terminal display, showing several pages of information. The user can select which pages are enabled for viewing under the Text Pages menu. The text pages are Show One, Show Many, Show All Channels, Timeline, and Menu Status. The operator can flip through selected pages using the CRT text button above the soft knobs. Show One page displays parameters of the current keyframe, and changes to the work buffer are highlighted. Show Many page displays more general information for many keyframes in the effect. Show All Channels shows keyframe information in all channels used in the effect. Timeline shows the relative placement of keyframes, including any global keyframes. Global keyframes will be discussed in more detail later. Timeline is useful in viewing how keyframes line up in time from channel to channel. It may be used to check for skewed or non-aligned keyframes. Menu status shows the present status of all menu functions. The CRT top menu also includes controls for the optional graphics display. The same monitor button allows the graphics monitor output to also show the text display. Selecting Graphics Monitor, or CRT Text, will control which function is displayed on the monitor. Selecting Graph Control provides a choice of pages definable from this menu. Under the Graphics Control menu, the operator can select whether channel IDs are on or off. Additionally, the operator can select which of 3 pages can be viewed using the CRT button above the soft knobs. These pages are the default graphics, showing wireframes, center of projection, and source axes only. Reduced graphics, providing for scaling down of the display, and user graphics, displaying any combination of user-selectable locators, including grids, center of projection, source axis, safe titles, and source IDs. The graphics option is useful for building effects offline when no channels are available. In addition, complicated multi-channel effects can be built while viewing the relationship between each channel. One or more channels may then be laid down each pass on videotape. The In-Out top menu controls selection of video inputs and outputs, as well as some of the system operating features. Input video selection is accomplished through the use of push buttons which select input sources. In the Kaleidoscope, a different video selection may be made for the backside of a picture. This allows a rotating picture to have different front side and backside sources. Normally, input selection is made using the Video Input Select push buttons. This menu allows for selection of visible or non-visible side sources. Thus, when a picture is rotated to expose the backside, a separate source may be automatically selected. Selections may also be made for reversing the video horizontally or vertically, or matte filling the video. When a system is installed, those sources normally associated with a key are defined in the Define Sources menu. The Kaleidoscope normally uses an auto-select mode to automatically select the input key signal associated with each input. This mode may be modified by entering the Key Mode menu. Visible and non-visible sources are programmed separately and may be programmed to be a split key or self-key. In addition, the key signal may be inverted. When using more than one channel, combiner and secondary output control menus become important. To demonstrate, look at how the physical channels are arranged in a multiple channel system. Remember that all channels are connected together in a loop. Each channel has an associated combiner which combines its own signal with a signal from the previous channel. When in the Resource menu, up to 5 channels may be acquired at any one time. Generally, it is advisable to acquire adjacent channels whenever possible to make proper use of the combining capabilities. If more than one channel is available, return to the Resource menu, select Request Channel, F1, 2, F2, and A, F1. This should assign physical channels A and B as logical channels 1 and 2. The output in this case comes from logical channel 1, which normally has top priority. Now that 2 channels are acquired, continue by using the combining modes. First, the fixed mode, which is the default mode. Select In-Out, then Combiner. Select Channel 1 on the Delegate panel. Reduce and position Channel 1 in the picture. Select Channel 2 on the Delegate panel. Position Channel 2 somewhere in the picture. Notice that Channel 1 is on top. In the fixed mode, the lowest number channel is always the top layer. Delegate channels 1 and 2 to the control panel by pressing Delegate 1 and 2 simultaneously. All control panel functions except source selection now control both channels. Enter the Combiner menu by pressing F4. Change to depth by pressing F2. Delegate channel 1 only and add Y-axis rotation. Notice that the planes of each channel are intersecting. The portions of the channel which appear closest to the viewer are now on top. The soft knob affects the intersection. To enhance the effect, switch now to the global channel on the Delegate panel and transform the picture with rotation. Notice that the channels are controlled by the global channel and that both channels appear locked and controlled as one. The global channel may be used as a master channel to add parameter changes to one or more channels. Some transform and menu features are available to the global channel and may be inserted as global channel keyframes. This is especially useful when controlling multiple channels. The operator should be aware that when using the combiner controls, the delegated channel and the combiner input are treated as two sources. Over mode allows the priority of these two sources to be changed with the soft knobs. Variable mode allows for the two sources to be mixed, much like a mixer for a layered environment. In addition, the combiner may be bypassed, allowing the input to pass directly to the next combiner. Or it may provide an ISO output, a direct non-combined output of the channel. Split primary and split secondary provide more complicated control of the combiner. The secondary output menu provides selection of a secondary output from the Kaleidoscope when the output router option is installed. Normally, the primary output comes from the channel which is acquired as logical channel 1 in the Resources menu. In multiple channel applications, a secondary output may be assigned from any of the remaining acquired channels. This allows for an effect to be built on one channel, entered into the switcher, and re-entered into the Kaleidoscope. If Isolate Secondary is on, the combiner loop is broken at that channel. Also included in the In-Out top menu are video processor controls. Choices for the output mode include color and mono. The decoder mode is adaptive by default, selecting the best filtering mode for most pictures. This may be forced to comb or notch for special applications. Likewise, the interpolator mode normally adapts to the best picture under normal circumstances. This also may be forced to field or frame by the user. Now let's look at the path menu control. In the Kaleidoscope, keyframes are learned at discrete times in the effect. In order for an effect to run smoothly, the Kaleidoscope must make up values for every field between keyframes. This process is known as in-betweening. The path which the source takes between keyframes is controllable by the Kaleidoscope operator through choices made in the Path Top menu. Select the Path Top menu button. The operator may control the path of transform parameters separately from menu parameters. To control the transform parameters, select Transform. Selecting All indicates that all transform parameters which change between keyframes will be affected. This includes transform parameters such as location, size, and rotation. To demonstrate the different paths available, let's begin by building a 4 keyframe effect with a reduced size picture in each corner. Run the effect to see how the path is interpolated. This path uses the default value of curved path as indicated in the menu. Operators control tension, continuity, and bias with the soft knobs. Rewind the effect, select Modify All Keyframes, select Linear, and Modify. Rewind and run the effect. Notice the difference in the transform path. Rewind the effect, select Modify All Keyframes, select S-Linear, and Modify. Rewind and run the effect. Notice now that the XY position appears linear, while the speed appears smoothed. Once again, rewind the effect, select Modify All Keyframes, select Hold, and Modify. Rewind and run the effect to observe that the hold path inhibits interpolation during the duration of that keyframe. These paths are selectable on a parameter-by-parameter basis. For example, while in the Transform section, Rotate may be selected as linear, while Axis Locate may be selected as Hold. This allows the operator complete flexibility in designing whatever move is desired. Included in the Path menu are parameters controlling spins. Spins are used when extra rotation in addition to the normal joystick rotation is needed. As an example, build a 2 keyframe effect of 2 flat reduced pictures. Enter the Spins menu and modify keyframe 2 to have 1 spin in the X direction by selecting Source X and entering 1 in the keypad. Run the effect. Modify the second keyframe by entering -1.25 in the keyframe. Run the effect and observe the direction of the spin. Any value, positive or negative, may be entered in the keypad. Each integral number represents 1 complete revolution. Insert a third keyframe and give a spin value of 0. Rewind and run the effect. This demonstrates an important feature of spins. The spin values are cumulative. For example, if a keyframe has a spin value of +1, to accomplish another 360-degree spin to the next keyframe, +2 must be entered for that keyframe. Notice that spins may be performed on either source or target axes, in addition to any joystick rotation. Also on the Path top menu are controls to select which channels will be controlled by the global channel within the effect. These are all normally turned on by default. Additional selections on this menu control the way in-betweening is performed on the Kaleidoscope. Possible choices are all fields, odd fields only, and even fields only. A particular choice may be preferred depending on the type of transform and source material, such as matching to motion picture film, which has been recorded at 30 frames per second. Also included in the Path menu is Pause. This may be programmed into the keyframe, causing the effect to stop running at that keyframe. The tension path for that keyframe will be set to 100% for an S-linear stop by default. To resume running the effect, the Run button must be pressed. Several top menu functions affect the appearance of the picture. These include video modification, picture, background border, and recursive freeze top menus. The Video Modify top menu, the next area to be described, includes choices of modification made before any transform occurs. These include pseudo color and mosaic. Select an appropriate input. Select the Video Modifier top menu. Now select pseudo color. Choices under this menu are Posterize, Color Modify, Hue Modify, Contrast, Reverse Video, and Mask. Select Posterize and observe the effect while changing the poster and solar soft knobs. These knobs adjust the quantization levels of the luminance and chrominance. Caution should be used when using extreme values because the composite signal may exceed allowable transmission levels. Select Color Modify. This function allows for a mix between two colors based on the luminance of the picture. Black level and white level colors may be selected independently. Select Exit then Hue Modify. This function uses the luminance of the incoming signal to modify the hue of the output color. Notice that the operator has controls for the starting hue and the ending hue, as well as saturation. In addition, there is a choice for selecting the direction of hue range. Select Exit, then Contrast. These controls allow the operator to stretch and clip black and white levels. The adjustments are for slope or steepness of contrast, range, and saturation, providing control over the color difference signals. Press Contrast again to turn it off. Select Reverse Video F5. This allows for the incoming video to be reversed in luminance and chrominance. Many of these functions may be masked by crop or key, allowing the effect to appear only in the desired portion of the picture. To turn these functions off, select Video Modify and press Clear Menu function once. Select Mosaic F2. Turn on mosaics and notice that the soft knobs control size and aspect. Select Random and notice the control over the degree of randomness. Now, select the Picture Top menu button. Choices under this menu include mirrors, splits, bends, multi-move, and perspective enhance. First, select Mirror. Turn the function on using F1. Notice the control for left, right, top, and bottom using the soft knobs. Turn off mirrors and exit one menu level higher. Select Split F3. Turn the split function on. The operator has control via soft buttons and knobs over horizontal and vertical splits, as well as the split axis location. The double mode fills the area between splits with video instead of background. The axis controls for mirrors and splits are shared. If mirrors and splits are on simultaneously, either axis control affects both functions. Turn both mirrors and splits off and select Bends. This feature allows non-linear transforms of the video. Ribbon Twist creates the effect of twisting the picture. The soft knobs labeled Start and End control the angle of top and bottom rotation. The Offset soft knob controls where the center of the twist will occur. In addition, the Blank Front and Blank Back soft buttons cause no video on the front or back side of the twist. This allows different video sources to be seen on front and back sides when using 2 channels or 2 videotape passes. The operator can use the ribbon twist features to program a wide variety of page turn type effects. The panorama function curves the parallel lines of video extending away from the viewer. Press Clear Menu function twice quickly and clear the menu function by pressing the soft button labeled Yes. Compress the video using Target Locate Size mode. Add X-axis rotation. Enhance the perspective. Press Panorama. Observe the soft knob control over the amount of curve. Return to the top menu by pressing the Picture Top menu button. Now, select Multi-Move, F5, and turn on. Select Position Size and notice the control available on the soft knobs. This feature replicates and reduces the size of the original picture. Experiment with the size and position controls, as well as with size, rotation, and position in the Transform section. Also notice control over aspect and inversion of every other picture in the multi-move mode. Return to the Picture top menu. Select Perspective Enhance. Choices in this menu are interrelated with transform controls affecting the target Z-axis. To see the effect more clearly, perspective should be applied to the transform. Enter a perspective value of 0.15 through the keypad and add some Y rotation to the picture. Enter the Perspective Enhance menu and turn Blur on. This feature will defocus the picture as a function of depth and is controlled by the soft knobs. This simulates an enhanced depth of field. Now turn on the Dim function. The Dim feature will darken the picture as a function of depth. This simulates a picture falling off into the shadows. Select Fade. The Fade function is identical to the Dim function, except that the picture now mixes into the background. In addition, Blur may also be added to the Dim or Fade functions. Glare is another function used to simulate a light source. The next function is the background menu control. Press Clear Work Buffer twice to clear the screen. Slightly reduce the size of the picture on the Transform panel. Select the Background Border top menu button. Choices in this top menu control the borders, background, crop, and drop shadow effects. Also found are controls for matching any two mats in the Kaleidoscope system. Now select Background. Turning on Background adds a background to any position in the screen not covered by a picture. This function also supplies a full-frame key signal out of that channel. Turning off Background enables a key output to be either the shape of the transformed video raster or the shape of the transformed key when in a key mode. This allows sources such as character generators to be transformed. The output key of the Kaleidoscope is a linear key and works best with switchers accepting a linear key input. This allows the Kaleidoscope to be keyed over a switcher effect while maintaining a soft edge or semi-transparent drop shadow. Remember, turning background off enables a linear key output from the Kaleidoscope. In this case, the linear key signal provides the soft outer edge of the video when keyed over a switcher effect. Both background and borders have controls for luminance and chrominance. Border width and softness may also be adjusted independently on each side for maximum flexibility. Selecting drop shadow in the top menu allows controls for a single channel drop shadow. By using a linear key in a switcher, the shadow can be put over any source. The shadow density can also be changed. Controls appear for position, opacity, and matte colors. The crop function in the top menu lets the operator crop a portion of the picture. Select Crop and observe controls for horizontal and vertical position, size, and softness. A crop invert function is also included so that cropping begins in the center of the picture. Some of the most spectacular special effects in the Kaleidoscope are found using the recursive effects. To understand how these effects are used, the operator should first have some understanding of how video flows through the processor. The most important portion of the Kaleidoscope hardware is the transform section. This allows the picture to be manipulated and consists of digitally writing information in and reading information out. To accomplish certain effects, the Kaleidoscope has hardware on either end of the transform section. One portion of this hardware is called the recursive loop. This consists of a video delay and feedback loop. Control of this feedback loop accomplishes many effects, such as freeze, decay, and other strobing effects. The Kaleidoscope also has an optional recursive loop on the output side of the transform section. This allows for motion effects introduced by transforming the picture. Control of both recursive loops is in the recursive freeze menus. Now select the recursive freeze top menu. Notice the selections for input controls and modes, and output controls and modes. The input loop may be masked using the crop function available. In addition, there are read and write timing controls for the input and output loops. Select the input mode menu selection. While viewing live video containing motion, select the motion decay function. The loop on button turns the function on by closing the feedback loop. Loop reset clears the memory of the loop and restarts the loop each time an effect runs past a keyframe. Notice that when the loop is on, the soft knob controls the amount of decay seen. Next, select Motion Track. Turning Motion Track on stores a reference image and outputs the video and key differences from the reference image. Soft knobs now control clip and gain of the motion detector and strobe time of the effect. Set clip to around 60 to 80%. Choices of strobing methods are time strobe and keyframe strobe using loop reset. Time strobe allows the effect to strobe continually, while keyframe strobe strobes the effect only at each keyframe. Select time strobe and turn on the loop. Observe that portions of the picture which have had motion are written to the frozen memory while other portions are not. This effect may be useful in tracking specific areas of motion or in building abstract-style still pictures. Now, turn off the motion track loop and select Input Freeze. Choices of strobing mode in this effect are time strobe, keyframe strobe, or hard freeze. The operator can control the period of the strobe and the on time of the live video. Decay may be added to the strobes and is adjustable from completely off to completely frozen. Additional functions of input recursive loop include motion key, which puts motion information into the key channel, hard freezes for the video, and hard freezes for the key. A byproduct of the feedback loop and motion detection hardware is noise reduction. Return to the top recursive freeze menu and notice selections for both input mode and input control. The input control selection is a shortcut to reaching the menu for the selected mode of operation. Similarly, output control selection is a shortcut to reaching the selected output mode. Now let's select Output Mode from the top menu. These are the modes for the optional output recursive loop. In addition to the many input recursive loop functions, controls for montage multi and strobe title are available. Remember, the output mode effects are affected by motion introduced by the transform as well as motion in the video source. Select the strobe title mode. This mode is similar to the freeze mode, except that the picture is strobed for 1 frame each period. The operator can control time and decay. In addition, star trails may be added, which changes the appearance of the decay to a pixel type of decay. The final selection in the top recursive freeze menu is read-write timing. This allows operator control of the input and output recursive read and write clocks. This provides for complete flexibility in any application. Forced strobe, also in the read-write timing menu, forces a strobe of the output loop. This causes strobing when no change of transform is taking place. Select the Effect Operations top menu button. Notice selections for Disk, Register, Channel, and Name Effect. Select Name Effect. This function assigns a name to the current effect. The effect name aids in locating the effect later. To name an effect, a labeling function is used. If a group of effects is to have similar names, a name can be temporarily saved using the Save String button and recalled using the Get String button. The variations in names can then be easily selected. Once an effect is named, that name stays with the effect until erased or changed. This name appears with the effect number in the directory when recalled. Let's create a simple 1 keyframe effect of a reduced box in effect number 10. Enter the labeling menu, label the effect Box, and press Accept Name. Select Register on the top menu. Select List Register. A directory of effects with names now appears in the menu and CRT displays. This directory can be scrolled if necessary using the soft knob. Notice that in the Register menu are selections for swapping effects, copying effects, appending effects, moving effects, and erasing effects. Select Disk on the top menu. These selections control how effects are stored on disk and recalled. Notice choices for saving the current effect, saving a group or all effects, load effects, deleting a group or all effects, listing the directory on a disk, naming the disk, and formatting the disk. Notice also a choice for a program load, which is used by maintenance personnel to load operating system software. To record to disk, the Write Protect window on the disk should be closed. Also on this top menu is a selection for Channel, which allows copying, deleting, and swapping of keyframe information. As mentioned earlier, the Kaleidoscope provides for 20 effects called preset effects. These are numbered 100 through 119. After an effect is built, it may be copied using the Register Copy function in the Effects Operations menu tree. Select Effect Operations, Register, and Copy. Copy effect number 10 to preset effects number 110 following the display prompt and using keypad entry. Select the Preset Effects top menu and notice that Effect 110 now appears as a choice. Recall Effect 110 and notice that the effect may only be run, not edited or changed in any way. To make changes to a preset effect, the operator must copy the effect into a lower effect number, make the desired changes, and then copy back into the preset registers. The preset effects allow for quick recall of frequently used effects while providing for protection from unintentional changes. Note that while running a preset effect, the Edit Enable light is off. Thus, an empty effect cannot be recalled. This offers an added amount of protection from inadvertently recalling the wrong register in live applications. As demonstrated, the Kaleidoscope system provides a great amount of control and power. The Kaleidoscope gives the operator the greatest amount of freedom and flexibility in programming effects. This program has shown only a small part of what the Kaleidoscope can do. This concludes the Grass Valley Group Kaleidoscope Operators Training Tape number 2. Operators should review these tapes and practice the demonstrations until they are fully understood. In addition, operators should study the latest operator's manual and operational supplements to obtain the most current and detailed information available. All this will allow the full potential and creative power of the Kaleidoscope to be realized.